Captain Marcus Chen had been Elon Musk's most trusted pilot for 3 years. He flew the world's richest man to Tesla factories, SpaceX launches, and billion-dollar meetings across the country. Elon considered him family. So when FBI agents arrested Marcus for industrial espionage, Elon was stunned. But what truly shocked him wasn't that his pilot had been stealing Tesla and SpaceX secrets for months. It was discovering that Marcus had unknowingly provided the flight schedules that nearly got Elon kidnapped and possibly killed. This is the story of how a desperate father's impossible choice between saving his daughter's life and betraying everything he believed in led to one of the most dangerous national security threats in American history. Marcus Chen's hands shook as he checked the fuel gauges on Elon Musk's Gulfstream G650ER. The digital numbers glowed bright green in the early morning darkness. Full tanks, perfect weather, clear skies ahead. But nothing felt right. It was 6:47 a.m. on Tuesday at Austin-Bergstrom International Airport. The sun hadn't risen yet, and the tarmac stretched out like a black ocean under the runway lights. Marcus had done this same pre-flight check hundreds of times in the past 3 years. He could do it with his eyes closed. Today felt different. Today, everything would change. Marcus walked around the sleek white jet, his flashlight beam dancing across the perfect paint. No scratches, no dents. The plane looked ready to carry the richest man in the world anywhere he wanted to go. Tesla's Austin factory, SpaceX headquarters in California, meetings in New York, rocket launches in Florida. Marcus had flown Elon everywhere. They talked about rockets and cars and making life better for people. Elon always asked about Marcus's family. He cared about regular people like Marcus, not just because he was rich, but because he was kind. That kindness made everything worse. Marcus pulled his phone from his pocket and looked at the last picture. Emma had sent him. His 8-year-old daughter was in her hospital bed at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston. She was holding a drawing of an airplane with Daddy's plane written in purple crayon. In the picture, stick figures of Marcus, his wife Sarah, and Emma were flying together to a place labeled Better. Emma had leukemia. The doctors said the new treatment was working, but it cost so much money. Even with good insurance, the bills kept coming. $20,000 last month, $15,000 the month before. The numbers made Marcus's head spin. His wife Sarah worked as a nurse at Del Seaton Medical Center here in Austin. She picked up extra shifts whenever she could. But nurse pay and pilot pay together still weren't enough. Not for the kind of treatment Emma needed. Marcus remembered when Emma was 6 and healthy. They went camping at Big Bend National Park every summer. Emma loved watching airplanes fly overhead. She would point at each one and ask Marcus to tell her what kind it was. "That's a Boeing 7037, he would say. "It carries people to visit their families." "That's an Air Force fighter jet," he would explain. "It keeps our country safe." Emma always wanted to know everything. How high do planes fly? How fast do they go? Why don't they fall down? "Because of lift," Marcus would tell her. "The wings cut through the air just right. It lifts the plane up to the clouds." Emma would nod like she understood perfectly. Then she would ask, "Will you teach me to fly someday, Daddy?" "Of course I will, sweetheart. When you're older." Now Emma was older, but instead of learning to fly, she was learning words like chemotherapy and radiation. Instead of running around the campground, she spent her days in a hospital bed. Instead of asking about airplanes, she asked when she could go home. Marcus finished his walk around the plane and climbed up to check the cockpit. Everything looked perfect. GPS system working. Radio clear. Weather radar showing blue skies all the way to California. His phone buzzed with a text message. Marcus looked at the screen and felt his blood turn cold. The message was from a number he recognized, a number he had been hoping never to see again. "Package secured. Final delivery today. Your daughter's treatment is guaranteed." Marcus read the message 3 times. His heart pounded so hard he thought it might jump out of his chest. He looked around the empty airport to make sure no one was watching. Then he deleted the message and put his phone away. The man who sent that message called himself David. Marcus had met him 6 months ago at a coffee shop near his home in Cedar Park. David knew everything about Emma's sickness. He knew about the hospital bills. He knew about Marcus's job flying Elon Musk around the country. David had made Marcus an offer that seemed too good to be true. All Marcus had to do was carry SAL packages on certain flights. David said they were just business documents. Nothing dangerous. Nothing illegal. Just papers that needed to get from one place to another without going through normal mail. In return, Emma's treatment would be paid for. All of it. A medical charity would take care of everything. Emma could get the best doctors, the newest medicines, the hope for a normal life. Marcus had said yes without thinking too hard about it. Emma needed help. His little girl was dying. What father wouldn't do anything to save his daughter? But now, 6 months later, Marcus wasn't stupid. He knew those packages didn't contain harmless business papers. He knew he was doing something wrong. Something that could hurt Elon, the man who trusted him with his life every time they flew together. Marcus had tried to quit last month. He called David and said he didn't want to carry any more packages. David's voice had turned cold and scary. "If you quit," David had said, "Emma's treatment stops today. All those medical bills will come due at once. And I'll make sure everyone knows about your money problems. You'll never fly again." Marcus had hung up the phone and cried for the first time since Emma got sick. Now he sat in the pilot's seat of Elon's jet and tried to think of a way out. In 2 hours, Elon would arrive for their flight to the Tesla factory in California. Elon would smile and ask about Emma. He would trust Marcus to fly him safely across the country. What Elon didn't know was that Marcus had been carrying secrets on every flight for 6 months. Secrets that could destroy everything Elon was trying to build. Secrets that might hurt thousands of people who worked at Tesla and SpaceX. Marcus looked at Emma's airplane drawing on his phone one more time. She had written "Love you, Daddy" at the bottom in shaky letters. He put the phone away and started the final pre-flight checklist. In the distance, he could see the lights of Austin waking up. Soon, the sun would rise on what he knew would be the most important day of his life. Marcus took a deep breath and tried to steady his hands. Today, he would carry his final package for David. Today, somehow, this nightmare would end. But first, he had to get through the next few hours without letting Elon see how scared he really was. At 8:47 a.m., Marcus heard the familiar hum of a Tesla Model S pulling up to the plane. He looked out the cockpit window and saw Elon stepping out of the sleek black car. Even from a distance, Marcus could tell Elon was already thinking about a dozen different things. Elon had his phone pressed to his ear. He was talking fast, using his hands to make points someone who couldn't see him. Marcus knew that, look, Elon was solving problems, making decisions that would affect thousands of people. Marcus climbed down from the cockpit and walked across the tarmac. He straightened his pilot's uniform and tried to make his face look normal. Just another Tuesday flight to California. Nothing different about today. "Good morning, Mr. Musk," Marcus said as Elon approached the plane. "Morning, Marcus," Elon replied, still holding his phone. "Give me 2 minutes to finish this call." Elon stepped a few feet away and kept talking. Marcus caught pieces of the conversation. Something about Tesla's production numbers. Something about a SpaceX Starship test next week. Elon's mind was always racing ahead to the next big thing. While he waited, Marcus thought about his own mind racing. But instead of thinking about rockets and cars, he was thinking about hospital bills and secret packages and the sick feeling in his stomach that never went away. Marcus had grown up wanting to be just like Elon in some ways. Not rich or famous, but someone who helped make the world better. Marcus's father had been an Air Force pilot. He taught Marcus that flying wasn't just a job. It was a way to serve people. "A pilot carries precious cargo," his father used to say. "Sometimes it's people, sometimes it's medicine or food. But it's always important to someone." Marcus joined the Navy after college, just like his father wanted. He flew missions in the Middle East, carrying soldiers and supplies to places where they were needed. He earned medals for flying in dangerous situations. His commanding officers said he was one of the best pilots they had ever seen. After leaving the military, Marcus worked for several private aviation companies. He flew movie stars and business executives and pilotons. The pay was good, but the work felt empty. These people didn't need his help. They just wanted to get from one place to another faster than everyone else. Then he got the job flying for Elon Musk. Suddenly, Marcus felt like his flying mattered again. He was carrying someone who was trying to make cars that didn't pollute the air. Someone who wanted to put people on Mars so humans could survive even if something bad happened to Earth. Someone who cared about the future. Elon finished his phone call and walked toward the plane. Sorry about that. Tesla's factory in Shanghai hit a new production record yesterday. Had to congratulate the team. That's great news, Marcus said. And he meant it. More Teslas meant cleaner air for Emma's future. As they climbed the stairs into the plane, Elon asked, "How's Emma doing?" Marcus's throat felt tight. This was the question he dreaded and looked forward to every time they flew together. Elon always remembered to ask about Emma. Most bosses didn't care about their employees' families. "She's doing better," Marcus said. "The doctors are happy with how she's responding to treatment." "I'm so glad to hear that," Elon said. "Sarah must be relieved." Marcus nodded. Sarah was relieved, but she didn't know the whole truth. She thought a medical charity had randomly chosen their family to help. She didn't know that her husband was paying for Emma's treatment by betraying the man who cared enough to ask about her. They settled into the cabin for takeoff. The Gulfstream G650ER was one of the fastest private jets in the world. It could fly from Austin to Los Angeles in less than 3 hours. Marcus had flown this exact route with Elon 47 times. He knew every landmark, every air traffic control tower, every place where they might hit turbulence. As they lifted off from Austin, Marcus looked down at the city where his family lived. Somewhere down there, Sarah was starting her shift at the hospital. Emma was probably still asleep in her room at MD Anderson, holding the stuffed airplane Marcus had given her when she first got sick. "Marcus, you seem a little tense today," Elon said from his seat behind the cockpit. "Everything okay?" Marcus felt his hands tighten on the controls. Could Elon see right through him? Did he know something? "Just tired," Marcus said. "Emma had a rough night, so Sarah and I didn't get much sleep." It wasn't exactly a lie. Emma had been having bad dreams lately. She woke up scared, asking if she was going to die. Sarah would hold her and sing lullabies until she fell back asleep. Marcus would lie awake staring at the ceiling, wondering what kind of man puts his own child's life before everything he believes in. "I'd like to visit Emma in the hospital sometime," Elon said. "If that would be okay with you and Sarah?" Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Elon's kindness made everything worse. How could Marcus look his daughter in the eye knowing that Elon Musk, the man she thought was a hero, had offered to visit her, while her own father was stealing from him? "She would love that," Marcus managed to say. "She has pictures of rockets all over her hospital room." For the next hour, they flew in comfortable silence. Elon worked on his laptop, probably designing the next revolutionary car or planning humanity's journey to Mars. Marcus flew the plane and tried not to think about the small package hidden in his flight bag. The package was different this time. It was heavier than usual and made a faint electronic humming sound when Marcus held it close to his ear. For the first time, real fear crept into his mind. What if this wasn't just stolen information? What if he was carrying something that could hurt people? Marcus had never asked David what was in the packages. David said it was better if Marcus didn't know. But Marcus wasn't stupid. He knew he was helping steal secrets from Tesla and SpaceX. He was betraying everything Elon worked for. The stolen information probably included Tesla's new battery technology that could make electric cars cheaper for regular families. It might include SpaceX's rocket designs that could take astronauts to the moon and Mars. Other companies could use these secrets to copy Elon's work without doing the hard research themselves. Thousands of Tesla and SpaceX workers had spent years developing these technologies. Their jobs depended on staying ahead of the competition. If competitors got the secrets for free, those workers might lose their jobs. Families might lose their homes. Children might not get to go to college. Marcus was hurting all those people to save his own daughter. As they flew over New Mexico, Marcus made a decision that surprised him. He reached for his phone and started typing a message to Elon. He was going to confess everything. He was going to tell Elon about David, about the packages, about the terrible choice between saving Emma and being an honest man. His finger hovered over the send button. Then he thought about Emma in her hospital bed, weak from chemotherapy, asking when she could come home. He thought about Dr. Williams explaining that Emma needed 6 more months of expensive treatment. He thought about Sarah crying in the hospital parking lot, wondering how they would pay for it all. Marcus deleted the message without sending it. When they landed in California, Elon gathered his things, and headed toward the exit. Thanks for the smooth flight, Marcus. I'll probably need to get back to Austin by Thursday. Will that work? Of course, Marcus said. Whatever you need. Elon paused at the top of the stairs and looked back. Marcus, I want you to know that I consider you part of my family. If you ever need anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. After Elon left, Marcus sat alone in the cockpit for a long time. Part of Elon's family. Those words cut deeper than any anger could have. Marcus pulled out his phone and looked at Emma's drawing again. At the bottom, in her shaky 8-year-old handwriting, she had added something new. Daddy is my hero. Marcus closed his eyes and tried not to cry. Heroes didn't steal from good people. Heroes didn't lie to their families. Heroes didn't choose one child's life over thousands of other people's futures. But sometimes Marcus thought, heroes had to make impossible choices. He picked up his flight bag, feeling the weight of the package inside, and headed toward his rental car. Tonight, he would make the final delivery to David. Tomorrow, somehow, this nightmare would be over. Emma would live. That had to be enough. After dropping Elon at the Tesla factory in Fremont, Marcus drove his rental car straight to Houston. The 3-hour drive gave him too much time to think. Every mile brought him closer to Emma, but also closer to the final delivery he had to make. MD Anderson Cancer Center looked like a small city made of glass and steel. Marcus had walked these hallways so many times that he knew every turn by heart. Left at the gift shop, right past the chapel. Elevator to the 7th floor. Room 740. The smell hit him as soon as the elevator doors opened. It was the smell of cleaning supplies mixed with medicine mixed with something else he couldn't name. The smell of hope fighting against fear. Marcus walked down the long hallway, passing other families dealing with their own battles. A mother reading to her teenage son. Grandparents playing cards with a little girl who had lost all her hair. A father sleeping in a chair next to a bed where his daughter was getting medicine through tubes in her arm. Every family had the same look in their eyes. The look that said they would do anything, absolutely anything, to save their child. Room 7242 had a sign on the door with Emma's name written in colorful letters. Sarah had made it during one of their longer stays. Below Emma's name, she had drawn pictures of airplanes and rockets and stars. Marcus knocked softly and pushed open the door. Daddy. Emma's voice was weak, but her smile was bright as sunshine. She was sitting up in bed wearing pink pajamas with unicorns on them. Her hair had grown back some since the worst part of her treatment. It was short and fuzzy, like a baby duck, but it was there. Marcus thought it was the most beautiful hair in the world. Hey there, sweetheart, Marcus said, leaning down to kiss her forehead. What are you working on? Emma held up a piece of paper covered in crayon marks. I drew this for you. Marcus took the drawing and felt his heart squeeze tight. It showed an airplane flying through blue sky toward a big yellow sun. Inside the airplane were 3 stick figures. Marcus in his pilot uniform, Sarah in her nurse scrubs, and Emma with a big smile. At the top of the paper, Emma had written Daddy's plane in purple crayon. At the bottom, in her careful 8-year-old handwriting, she had added flying to better. This is the most beautiful picture I've ever seen, Marcus said. Can I keep? Of course. I made it special for you because you fly Mr. Elon around in his rocket plane. Marcus laughed despite everything. It's not exactly a rocket plane, sweetheart. But Mr. Musk does build real rockets that go to space. I know. Emma's eyes got wide and excited. Someday I want to go to space too. Maybe I can be the first kid on Mars. Sarah looked up from her chair next to the bed. She had been reading a nursing magazine, but Marcus could tell she hadn't been paying attention to it. Her eyes had that tired look they got when she was worried about bills. Hi, honey, she said, getting up to hug Marcus. How was the flight? Good, Marcus said, holding her tight. Elon asked about Emma. He said he wants to visit her sometime if that's okay. Sarah's eyes lit up. Really? Emma would be so excited. Who's Elon? Asked a voice from the doorway. Dr. Patricia Williams walked into the room carrying a tablet computer. She was Emma's main doctor, and Marcus had grown to respect her over the past year. Dr. Williams was honest about the scary parts of Emma's treatment, but she was also hopeful about Emma's chances. Elon Musk, Emma said proudly. My daddy flies his airplane. He builds rockets and electric cars, and he's gonna help people live on Mars. Dr. Williams smiled. That sounds like a pretty important job for your daddy. Marcus felt his face get hot. If only Dr. Williams knew what else his job involved. Speaking of important, Dr. Williams said, I have some good news. Emma's latest blood work looks excellent. The cancer cells are almost gone. Sarah grabbed Marcus's hand so tight it hurt. Really? Are you sure? I'm very sure, Dr. Williams said. Emma is responding to treatment better than we hoped. She'll need to stay on the current medicine plan for about 6 more months. But her chances for complete recovery are very good. Marcus felt like he might fall over. 6 more months of treatment. 6 more months of bills. 6 more months of needing David's help to pay for everything. The best part, Dr. Williams continued, is that your insurance and that medical assistance program are covering everything. Emma can get the best care without your family worrying about money. Sarah started crying happy tears. Emma clapped her hands. Marcus tried to smile, but inside he felt sick. The medical assistance program was David's money. Money paid for with stolen secrets from Tesla and SpaceX. After Dr. Williams left, Marcus walked down to the parking garage to call David. He needed to end this today before Emma's treatment was complete. Maybe there was still time to find another way to pay for the last 6 months. David answered on the first ring. Marcus, I was expecting your call. I want out, Marcus said without saying hello. Emma's doing well. We can find another way to pay for her treatment. David's laugh was cold and mean. You can't quit now, Marcus. We're so close to getting everything we need. I don't care what you need, Marcus said. I'm done carrying your packages. Are you? David's voice got quiet and dangerous. Let me remind you what happens if you quit. Emma's treatment stops today. All those medical bills, about $180,000 so far, become due immediately. Your credit will be ruined. Sarah will lose the house. Marcus gripped his phone tighter. You said this was the final delivery. It is. After today, Emma's treatment will be fully funded for as long as she needs it. You'll never have to worry about money again. But only if you complete this last job. Marcus wanted to hang up, but he thought about Emma's drawing. Flying to better. How could he give up when they were so close? What's different about this package? Marcus asked. It's heavier than the others. David was quiet for a moment. Just deliver it like always. Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. Marcus hung up and leaned against his car. The parking garage was full of other families' cars. Cars that brought parents to sit by their sick children's beds. Cars that carried hope and fear and love. Inside the hospital, Emma was probably showing her drawing to the nurses. She was proud that her daddy flew and turned people around. She thought Marcus was a hero. Marcus looked up at the tall hospital building. Somewhere up there, his little girl was getting better because of stolen secrets and dirty money. She was alive because her father had become exactly the kind of person his own father had taught him never to be. Marcus got back in his car and drove toward the airport. In a few hours, he would make the final delivery. Tomorrow, Emma would still be alive and getting better. The bills would be paid. Sarah could sleep without worrying. It had to be enough, even if it meant Marcus could never look at himself in the mirror again. When he got back to Emma's room, she was holding her airplane drawing up to the window. Look, Daddy, she said. If I hold it up to the light, we're already flying to better. Marcus hugged his daughter and tried not to cry. She was right. They were flying toward better. But the flight path was taking them through some very dark clouds. I love you, Emma, he whispered. I love you too, Daddy. You're the best pilot in the whole world. Marcus closed his eyes and held her tight. Tomorrow, he promised himself he would figure out how to be the man she thought he was. 2 days later, Marcus stood on the tarmac at Austin Bergstrom International Airport, preparing for what he knew would be his final flight carrying David's secrets. The package in his flight bag felt heavier than ever, not just because it weighed more than the others, but because of what it represented, the end of everything. Today's destination was Starbase, SpaceX's rocket facility in Boca Chica, Texas, near the Mexican border. It was where Elon's team built and tested the massive Starship rockets that would someday carry people to Mars. Marcus had flown there dozens of times, but today felt different. As he did his pre-flight checks, Marcus noticed something strange about the package. When he held it loose to his ear, He could hear a faint electronic humming sound, like a tiny computer was running inside. All the other packages had been silent. This one seemed alive. For the first time since he started working with David, real fear crept into Marcus's mind. What if this wasn't just stolen computer files? What if he was carrying something that could hurt people? Marcus tried to push the worry away. After today, it would all be over. Emma's treatment would be paid for. David would disappear from their lives. The Chen family could go back to being normal. If there was still such a thing as normal after what Marcus had done. At 9:15 a.m., Elon's Tesla pulled up to the plane. Marcus watched him get out of the car, talking excitedly on his phone. Even from a distance, Marcus could see the energy in Elon's movements. Something big was happening at Starbase. Marcus. Elon called out as he approached the plane. Great timing. The engineering team made a breakthrough with the Raptor engines. We might be ready for the orbital test flight sooner than expected. That's fantastic news, Marcus said, trying to sound normal. Inside, his stomach was twisted in knots. As they climbed into the plane, Elon's excitement was hard to miss. He talked about Mars, like other people talked about their next vacation. To Elon, putting humans on another planet wasn't science fiction. It was just the next logical step. You know what I love most about the Mars mission? Elon said as they prepared for takeoff. It's not just about exploration. It's about giving humanity a backup plan. If something bad happens to Earth, our species will survive. Marcus nodded and tried to focus on flying. But Elon's words hit him hard. Elon was trying to save the entire human race, and Marcus was helping people steal the technology that might make it possible. During the flight south toward Boca Chica, Elon worked on his laptop while Marcus fought with his conscience. Through the cockpit radio, Marcus could hear air traffic controllers directing planes all across Texas. Normal pilots carrying normal passengers to normal destinations. Marcus wondered if any of those other pilots were carrying secrets that could change the world. Probably not. Probably they were just doing their jobs, flying people safely from one place to another, going home to their families with clear consciences. About halfway through the flight, Elon's phone rang. Marcus could hear one side of the conversation from the cockpit. What do you mean unusual activity? Elon's voice got serious. How long has this been going on? Marcus's hands tightened on the controls. Were they talking about him? Someone's been accessing our confidential files? Elon continued. The 4680 battery data and full self-driving software. How is that possible? Marcus felt like he might throw up. They were talking about the exact information he had been stealing for David. Tesla's security team was finally figuring out that someone on the inside was taking their secrets. I want a full investigation, Elon said into the phone. Check everyone with high-level access. I don't care how long they've worked for us, or how much I trust them. Someone is betraying everything we've worked for. The word betraying hit Marcus like a punch to the stomach. That's exactly what he was doing. He was betraying Elon, betraying Tesla, betraying SpaceX, betraying everyone who worked to build a better future. For the rest of the flight, Marcus tried to act normal, while his world fell apart inside his head. Every time Elon looked toward the cockpit, Marcus was sure he could see suspicion in his eyes. Every question about flight routes sounded like an interrogation. Marcus, you've been quieter than usual lately, Elon said as they approached Starbase. Everything okay with your family? The kindness in Elon's voice made everything worse. Here was a man who cared enough to ask about Emma, who had offered to visit her in the hospital, who trusted Marcus with his life every time they flew together. And Marcus was stabbing him in the back. Just worried about Emma, Marcus said. It wasn't exactly a lie. He was worried about Emma, worried about what would happen to her treatment if he got caught. I understand, Elon said. Being a parent when your child is sick is the hardest thing in the world. If there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. Marcus almost broke down right then. The man he was stealing from was offering to help his family. How could anyone be that kind and that trusting? They landed at the small airport near Starbase, and Marcus watched Elon walk across the tarmac toward the SpaceX facility. In the distance, he could see the enormous Starship rocket standing like a silver tower against the blue Texas sky. It was 400 feet tall, taller than most buildings. Someday, a rocket like that would carry the first humans to Mars. Marcus thought about Emma's drawing of them flying to better. She believed her daddy was helping build that better future. She didn't know he was actually helping tear it down. After Elon disappeared into the SpaceX building, Marcus drove to a maintenance hangar on the edge of the airport. This was where David had told him to make the final drop. Marcus parked his rental car and walked toward the empty hangar, carrying the humming package in his flight bag. The hangar was dark and smelled like motor oil and old metal. Marcus found the maintenance locker David had described and opened it with the key David had given him weeks ago. Inside was a small metal box, just like always. But this time, before putting the package in the box, Marcus did something different. He took out his phone and photographed the package from every angle. He wrote down the serial numbers printed on its sides. He recorded a video of the humming sound it made. Marcus didn't know exactly why he was documenting everything. Maybe it was his military training kicking in. Maybe it was guilt making him want evidence of what he'd done. Maybe it was fear that David wasn't telling him the truth about what was in these packages. After placing the package in the box and locking it, Marcus stood in the dark hangar for a long time. This was supposed to be the end. After today, Emma's treatment would be guaranteed. The medical bills would be paid forever. His family would be safe. So why did he feel like something terrible was about to happen? Marcus walked back to his car and drove toward the SpaceX facility. Through the fence, he could see Elon standing next to the giant rocket, talking with engineers and pointing at different parts of the massive machine. Even from far away, Marcus could see the excitement and hope in Elon's body language. Elon really believed he could put humans on Mars. He really believed he could save the human race by making it a multiplanetary species. And Marcus had been helping people steal the technology that might make it possible. Marcus thought about his father, the Air Force pilot who taught him that flying was about serving others. What would his father think if he knew what Marcus had become? What would Emma think when she was old enough to understand? As he drove away from Starbase, Marcus made a decision. This really would be his final delivery to David. Not because David said so, but because Marcus couldn't live with himself anymore. Whatever happened to Emma's treatment, whatever happened to the medical bills, he couldn't keep betraying good people. He would find another way to save his daughter. A way that didn't require destroying his soul. But first, he had to figure out how to confess what he'd done without losing everything his family needed. Survive. And he had to do it before anyone else discovered what he'd been hiding. Time was running out faster than Marcus realized. The investigation Elon had ordered was already closing in on the truth. Soon, everyone would know that Captain Marcus Chen, trusted pilot and family man, was actually a spy who had betrayed the people trying to save the world. The only question was whether Marcus would confess first, or whether the truth would catch up with him before he found the courage to do the right thing. 3 days after the Boca Chica flight, Marcus was making breakfast for Emma at their house in Cedar Park when the morning news made his blood freeze. Breaking news this morning, the reporter said from the television screen. The FBI has arrested several people in what they're calling one of the largest industrial espionage cases in recent history. Marcus dropped the bowl he was holding. It crashed on the kitchen floor, sending pieces of ceramic flying across the room. "Daddy, are you okay?" Emma called from the living room, where she was watching cartoons on her tablet. "I'm fine, sweetheart," Marcus said, but his voice came out shaky and wrong. On the TV screen, the reporter continued talking while showing pictures of men in handcuffs being led into police cars. Marcus recognized one of the faces immediately. It was a man who had worked with David, someone Marcus had seen during one of their secret meetings 6 months ago. The suspects are accused of stealing American aerospace and automotive technology and selling it to foreign companies, the reporter said. FBI sources say the investigation involves multiple major corporations and may have cost American businesses billions of dollars in lost advantages. Marcus sank into a kitchen chair and tried to breathe. The walls felt like they were closing in around him. Emma's laughter from the living room sounded far away, like it was coming from another world. His phone buzzed with a text message. Marcus looked at the screen, expecting to see David's number. Instead, it was from Elon's assistant. "Mr. Musk would like to meet with you tomorrow morning at the Tesla facility, 9 a.m. Please confirm." Marcus stared at the message for a long time. This was it. Somehow, Elon had figured out what Marcus had been doing. Tomorrow morning, his life as he knew it would be over. Marcus texted back, "I'll be there. Then he walked into the living room and sat next to Emma on the couch. She was watching a cartoon about a little girl who wanted to be an astronaut. The cartoon girl was brave and smart and never gave up on her dreams. "Daddy, will you watch with me?" Emma asked, snuggling up against his side. "Of course," Marcus said, wrapping his arm around his daughter. On the screen, the cartoon astronaut was fixing her broken spaceship so she could continue her mission to help people on a distant planet. Marcus wished real life was like cartoons, where problems always had simple solutions, and good people always found a way to win. Later that day, while Emma was napping, Marcus drove to Tesla's Austin Gigafactory. He didn't have a meeting scheduled, but he needed to see the place one more time before everything fell apart. He needed to remember what he had been part of, even if he had betrayed it. The factory was enormous, bigger than 100 football fields put together. Through the windows, Marcus could see robots and people working together to build electric cars that would help clean up the air Emma would breathe for the rest of her life. Marcus parked in the visitor lot and just sat in his car, watching. Workers walked between buildings, talking and laughing like people at any job. They didn't know that someone had been stealing their secrets. They didn't know that their hard work might be copied by companies that never did the research themselves. That evening, Marcus sat in Emma's hospital room while she got her treatment. The medicine dripped slowly through tubes into her arm. Emma was drawing another picture. This one showed her and Marcus flying a rocket ship together. "Where are we going in this rocket?" Marcus asked. "To the moon," Emma said without looking up from her drawing. "We're going to plant a flag that says Emma and Daddy were here so everyone will know we made it." Marcus felt tears starting in his eyes. Emma still believed her daddy was a hero. She still thought they could fly anywhere together and accomplish anything. Tomorrow, when the truth came out, that would all change. Dr. Williams stopped by during her evening rounds. "Emma's doing wonderfully," she told Marcus and Sarah. "Her blood work keeps getting better. At this rate, she might finish treatment ahead of schedule." "What does that mean for the cost?" Sarah asked quietly. "Don't worry about that," Dr. Williams said. "The medical assistance program covering Emma's care is very generous. Whatever she needs, for as long as she needs it, will be taken care of." After the doctor left, Sarah squeezed Marcus's hand. "We're so lucky," she said. "I don't know how we would have managed without that program." Marcus nodded but couldn't speak. The medical assistance program was paid for with stolen secrets. Emma's recovery was built on betrayal and lies. That night, after they got home and Emma was asleep, Marcus sat at his kitchen table and wrote a letter. He wrote about David in the packages and the terrible choice he had made. He wrote about loving Emma so much that he forgot about loving what was right. He wrote about how sorry he was for betraying Elon and Tesla and SpaceX. He wrote about all the people whose hard work he had helped steal. He wrote about wanting to be the kind of man his father had raised him to be. When he finished the letter, Marcus folded it and put it in his jacket pocket. Tomorrow morning, he would give it to Elon before anyone else could tell him what Marcus had done. It was time to confess. It was time to face the consequences of his choices. It was time to stop being a spy and start being a father Emma could actually be proud of. But first, Marcus had to figure out how to tell Sarah and Emma that their lives were about to change forever. The house might be taken away. Marcus might go to jail. Emma's treatment might stop. Marcus looked at Emma's rocket drawing on the refrigerator. In her picture, they were flying toward the moon together, happy and brave and free. In real life, Marcus was about to crash and burn. The only question now was whether he could protect his family from the wreckage. He went to bed that night knowing it might be his last night sleeping in his own house. Tomorrow, the truth would finally come out. One way or another, the secrets that had been eating him alive for 6 months would finally see the light of day. Marcus just hoped that when the dust settled, Emma would still believe that good people could make bad choices and find their way back to being good again. Marcus arrived at Tesla's Austin Gigafactory at 8:45 a.m. with sweaty palms and a heavy heart. The confession letter was folded in his jacket pocket, and he had practiced what he would say to Elon at least 50 times during the sleepless night. The massive factory hummed with morning activity. Robots moved along assembly lines, installing batteries into Model Y cars. Workers in blue uniforms checked quality and made adjustments. The future was being built all around Marcus, and he was about to admit that he had helped people try to steal it. Marcus walked through the main entrance and showed his ID to security. The guard smiled and waved him through, just like always. If only he knew what Marcus had really been doing for the past 6 months. Elon's office was on the 3rd floor, overlooking the production floor. Marcus took the elevator up, his heart pounding harder with each floor. When the doors opened, he saw something that made his legs feel weak. FBI agent Jennifer Torres was standing in the hallway outside Elon's office. Marcus recognized her immediately from news reports about other industrial espionage cases. She was tall and serious-looking, with short brown hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see right through people. Next to her stood a man in a dark suit who was probably another FBI agent. "Captain Chen," Agent Torres said as Marcus stepped off the elevator. "Thank you for coming. Mr. Musk is waiting for us." Marcus tried to speak, but no words came out. His mouth felt like it was full of sand. This was really happening. The FBI was here. His confession letter wouldn't matter now. They already knew everything. Agent Torres knocked on Elon's office door and pushed it open. "Mr. Musk, Captain Chen is here." Marcus walked into the office on shaking legs. Elon was sitting behind his desk, but his usual energy was missing. He looked tired and disappointed, like a teacher who had caught his best student cheating on a test. "Please, sit down, Marcus," Elon said quietly. Marcus sat in the chair across from Elon's desk. Agent Torres and the other FBI agent remained standing near the door. The room felt too small and too hot. For a long moment, nobody said anything. Marcus could hear the sounds of the factory below, cars being built, people working, the future moving forward without him. Finally, Elon spoke. "Marcus, is there anything you need to tell me?" This was the moment Marcus had been preparing for. He reached into his jacket for the confession letter, but Agent Torres held up her hand. "Actually, Mr. Musk, before Captain Chen says anything, there's something we need to explain." Agent Torres walked to the front of Elon's desk and opened a thick folder. "Captain Chen, we already know about your involvement with David Kim and his espionage ring." Marcus felt like the room was spinning. They knew about David. They knew everything. He was going to jail, and Emma's treatment would stop, and Sarah would lose the house, and everything would fall apart. "We know you've been carrying packages during your flights with Mr. Musk," Agent Torres continued. "We know about the stolen Tesla and SpaceX data. We know about the money that's been paying for your daughter's medical treatment." Marcus closed his eyes and waited for her to say he was under arrest. Instead, Agent Torres said something that shocked him more than anything else could have. "What you don't know, Captain Chen, is that you've been working with the FBI for the past 2 months." Marcus opened his eyes and stared at her. "What?" "The packages you've been carrying for the past 2 months haven't contained real stolen data," Agent Torres explained. "They've contained false information that we created specifically to mislead David's organization." Marcus felt like he was in a dream. Nothing made sense. "I don't understand." Agent Torres pulled a chair over and sat down next to Marcus. 2 months ago, we discovered your involvement in David's espionage ring. We could have arrested you immediately, but we offered you a choice instead." "What choice?" "I never talked to you before today." "Actually, you did," Agent Torres said gently. "Do you remember meeting with a woman at Emma's hospital? A woman who said she was from the medical assistance program?" Marcus thought back to 2 months ago. He remembered a woman in a business suit who had approached him in the hospital cafeteria. She had said the medical assistance program wanted to increase their support for Emma's treatment. She had asked Marcus to sign some papers. "That was you," Marcus said quietly. "That was me," Agent Torres confirmed. "When I approached you, I explained that we knew about your work with David, and I gave you a choice. You could face immediate arrest and prosecution for espionage, or you could help us catch the entire ring by continuing to make deliveries while providing us with information about David's operation." Marcus tried to remember that conversation, but it felt like it had happened in a fog. Emma had been having a particularly bad day with her treatment, and Marcus had been exhausted and scared. "You agreed to work with us," Agent Torres said. "You signed papers agreeing to cooperate with our investigation. For the past 2 months, every package you delivered contained false information designed to waste David's time and resources." Slowly, pieces of the puzzle started coming together in Marcus's mind. The woman at the hospital who had guaranteed Emma's continued treatment. The packages that felt different over the past 2 months. The way David had seemed less interested in talking to him recently. But I thought I was still stealing real information, Marcus said. We know, Agent Torres said. It was better for the investigation if he didn't know you were working with us. We needed your reactions to David to be genuine. Elon had been quiet during this entire conversation. But now he leaned forward in his chair. Marcus, I want you to know that Agent Torres explained everything to me last week. I understand why you made the choices you did. Marcus looked at Elon with confusion and shame. You know what I did. You know I betrayed you. I know you made an impossible choice when your daughter was dying. Elon said. I know you chose Emma's life over everything else. I also know that when the FBI gave you a chance to make things right, Agent Torres opened her folder and pulled out several photographs. Captain Chen, your cooperation over the past 2 months has led to the arrest of 15 people involved in this espionage ring, including David Kim and several foreign agents working for competing companies. The photographs showed David and other men, Marcus recognized, being arrested at various locations. Some were in handcuffs outside office buildings. Others were being taken from cars or houses. The investigation has protected billions of dollars in American technological advantages. Agent Torres continued. Without your help, we never could have identified all the members of this organization. Marcus stared at the photographs, trying to understand what had happened to his life. So I'm not going to jail? You're not going to jail, Agent Torres said. You're going to testify at David's trial to help make sure he and his associates receive appropriate sentences. Elon stood up from behind his desk and walked around to where Marcus was sitting. Marcus, I need you to understand something. What you did in the beginning was wrong. But what you've done for the past 2 months has been heroic. I don't feel like a hero, Marcus said. I feel like a man who almost destroyed everything he cared about. Heroes aren't people who never make mistakes, Elon said. Heroes are people who find the courage to fix their mistakes, even when it's hard. Agent Torres closed her folder and stood up. Captain Chen, there's one more thing you should know. The medical assistance program that's been paying for Emma's treatment. That's a legitimate government program for families of people who cooperate with national security investigations. Emma's treatment will continue to be covered for as long as she needs it. Marcus felt tears starting in his eyes. Emma would be okay. His family would be okay. He wasn't going to jail. But more than that, he had actually helped catch the people who were trying to steal American technology. He had helped protect Elon's work and the jobs of thousands of Tesla and SpaceX employees. Maybe Emma was right. Maybe her daddy really was a hero after all. Just when Marcus thought the nightmare was over, Agent Torres pulled another folder from her briefcase. Her expression grew darker as she opened it. Captain Chen, there's something else you need to know. Something that shocked even Mr. Musk when we told him about it last week. Marcus felt his stomach drop again. What could be worse than what he'd already learned? Agent Torres spread several papers across Elon's desk. They looked like maps and flight schedules and photographs taken from far away. Marcus recognized some of the locations, airports where he had flown with Elon many times. The espionage ring wasn't just after Tesla and SpaceX technology, Agent Torres said quietly. They were planning something much more dangerous. Elon moved closer to Marcus's chair. Even though he had heard this before, his face looked serious and worried. David Kim's group had been studying your flight patterns with Mr. Musk for months, Agent Torres continued. They knew exactly when you flew, where you landed, how much fuel you carried, and what emergency procedures you followed. Marcus stared at the papers on the desk. Red circles were drawn around several airports. Lines connected different locations like a connect-the-dots puzzle. But this wasn't a game. They weren't just stealing information, Captain Chen. They were planning to kidnap Mr. Musk. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He felt like he couldn't breathe. Kidnap? Marcus whispered. Agent Torres nodded. The plan was sophisticated and very dangerous. David's associates had positioned teams at airports you used regularly. They had studied your emergency landing procedures and identified remote locations where they could force your plane to land. She pulled out more photographs. These showed men with weapons near small airports. Men with radios and equipment that could jam airplane communications. Men who looked nothing like the friendly mechanics and fuel workers Marcus was used to seeing. The goal wasn't money, Agent Torres said. They planned to hold Mr. Musk hostage until he provided access to SpaceX's most classified projects. Information about military contracts and satellite technologies that could be used against American interests. Marcus realized with horror that he had been providing the information that would have made the kidnapping possible. Every flight log he had shared with David, every route change, every fuel stop, every detail about Elon's schedule had been passed along to people planning to hurt him. How close did they come? Marcus asked, his voice barely audible. Agent Torres and Elon exchanged a look that made Marcus's blood run cold. The kidnapping was scheduled for your next flight with Mr. Musk. Agent Torres said. A trip to SpaceX's facility in Redmond, Washington. Your flight plan required a fuel stop in a remote area of Nevada. She pulled out a map of the western United States. A red circle was drawn around a small airport in the middle of nowhere. Red arrows showed roads leading away from the airport toward empty desert. David's team had already moved equipment and personnel into position, Agent Torres continued. If you hadn't agreed to work with the FBI when you did, Mr. Musk would have been captured within days. Marcus felt like the world was spinning around him. He looked at Elon, trying to understand how the man could even stand to be in the same room with him. I almost got you killed, Marcus said. No, Elon said firmly. David Kim almost got me killed. You helped prevent it from happening. Agent Torres pulled out surveillance photographs that made Marcus's hands shake. They showed men with guns hiding near the Nevada airport. Vehicles that could block runways. Equipment that could jam radio signals and GPS system. We've been tracking this kidnapping plot for months, but we couldn't identify who was providing Mr. Musk's travel information, Agent Torres explained. Your cooperation was the key that allowed us to stop it. Marcus thought about all the times he had flown with Elon to remote locations. Small airports for Tesla factory visits. Private airstrips near SpaceX facilities. Places where help would be far away if something went wrong. Every time we flew somewhere isolated, they could have taken him, Marcus said. That's right, Agent Torres said. But they were waiting for the perfect opportunity. The Nevada fuel stop would have been ideal because it's so far from any major cities or military bases. Elon sat down in his chair and looked directly at Marcus. I need you to understand something. When Agent Torres first told me about this, I wasn't angry at you. I was grateful. Grateful? How can you be grateful that I put your life in danger? Because when you realized what was happening, you chose to help stop it, Elon said. Even when you didn't fully understand the situation, you made the right choice. Agent Torres showed Marcus more evidence that made the kidnapping plot seem even more real and terrifying. Recordings of phone calls where David and his associates discussed capturing the target. Maps showing escape routes through Mexico. False identities that would have allowed the kidnappers to disappear after taking Elon. This wasn't just about industrial espionage anymore, Agent Torres said. This was about national security. Several foreign intelligence services were involved in the plot. Marcus realized that his decision to help Emma had almost caused an international incident. If Elon Musk had been kidnapped, it would have affected not just Tesla and SpaceX, but America's entire technology industry and space program. The ransom they planned to demand wasn't money, Agent Torres continued. They wanted complete access to SpaceX's military contracts, satellite technology, and Mars colonization plans. Information that could have set back American space exploration by decades. Marcus thought about Emma's drawings of rockets and her dreams of going to Mars someday. If David's plan had succeeded, those dreams might never have been possible. How many people were involved in the kidnapping plot? Marcus asked. 17 people that we know of, Agent Torres said, plus contacts in 3 different countries who were ready to help hide Mr. Musk once he was taken. She showed Marcus photographs of men and women from around the world. Some looked like business people. Others looked like criminals. All of them had been planning to destroy Elon's life and steal America's space technology. Captain Chen, your flight logs were the key piece of intelligence they needed, Agent Torres said. Without knowing Mr. Musk's exact travel patterns, they couldn't have planned the kidnapping. Marcus felt sick thinking about how close they had come to success. If he hadn't been approached by Agent Torres at the hospital, if he hadn't agreed to work with the FBI, if Emma's treatment had been just a little different. What happened to all of them? Marcus asked. Arrested, Agent Torres said with satisfaction. When we raided their Nevada base, we found weapons, communications equipment, and detailed plans for holding Mr. Musk for months if necessary. She pulled out the final photograph from her folder. It showed a remote building in the desert with bars on the windows and high walls around it. It looked like a prison. This is where they planned to keep Mr. Musk while they demanded technology secrets from SpaceX and Tesla. Agent Torres said. Marcus stared at the photograph and realized that his daughter's life had almost cost not just Elon's freedom, but America's future in space. The weight of what could have happened pressed down on him like a mount. "I'm sorry," Marcus said to Elon. "I'm so sorry for putting you in danger." "Marcus, look at me," Elon said. "You didn't put me in danger. David Kim put me in danger. When you had the chance to make things right, you took it. That's what heroes do." Agent Torres closed her folders and stood up. "Captain Chen, because of your cooperation, we prevented not just industrial espionage but a kidnapping that could have affected national security. You should be proud of what you accomplished." Marcus didn't feel proud. He felt lucky that his terrible mistake hadn't cost Elon his life or America its space program. But for the first time since this nightmare began, Marcus also felt hope. Emma would get her treatment. The kidnappers were in jail. Elon was safe. And somehow, despite everything, Marcus had ended up on the right side of justice. 6 weeks after the arrests, Marcus sat in Emma's hospital room at MD Anderson. But everything felt different now. The weight of secrets no longer pressed down on his shoulders. The fear of discovery no longer twisted his stomach into knots. For the first time in months, Marcus could breathe freely. Emma was drawing at the small table by her bed, but instead of airplanes, she was drawing rockets. Big silver rockets with flames shooting out the bottom and tiny windows where astronauts could look out at the stars. "Daddy, look what I made." Emma held up her latest creation. The rocket had "Emma Pie Daddy to Mars" written in red crayon across the side. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," Marcus said, sitting down next to her. "Are we really going to Mars?" "Of course," Emma said with the confidence that only 8-year-old children possess. "Mr. Elon said he's building rockets that can take families there. Maybe we can be the first family from Texas." Marcus smiled, remembering Elon's visit to the hospital 2 weeks ago. He had brought Emma a model of the Starship rocket and spent an hour explaining how it would work. Emma had listened with wide eyes, asking questions that impressed even Elon with their intelligence. The door opened and Dr. Williams walked in, carrying Emma's latest test results. Marcus felt his heart speed up slightly. Even though things were going well, he still worried every time the doctor appeared. "I have wonderful news," Dr. Williams said, her face breaking into a genuine smile. "Emma's latest blood work shows no detectable cancer cells." Sarah, who had been reading in the corner chair, dropped her magazine and stood up quickly. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means Emma is officially in complete remission," Dr. Williams said. "Her body has responded to the treatment better than we could have hoped. The experimental protocol worked perfectly." Emma looked up from her drawing, not fully understanding the medical terms, but recognizing the happiness in the adults' voices. "Does that mean I can go home soon?" "It means you can go home next week," Dr. Williams said. "You'll still need to come back for checkups every month, but you won't need to stay in the hospital anymore." Marcus felt tears starting in his eyes. After everything they had been through, the fear, the betrayal, the secrets, the investigation, Emma was going to be okay. She was going to grow up healthy and strong, with dreams of flying to Mars and becoming whatever she wanted to be. "What about the cost of her continued care?" Sarah asked quietly. Dr. Williams smiled. "The medical assistance program will continue to cover everything. Checkups, medications, any additional treatment she might need. Your family doesn't need to worry about money." After the doctor left, the three of them sat together on Emma's hospital bed. Emma was coloring her rocket, adding little details like American flags and solar panels. Sarah was crying happy tears and holding Marcus's hand. Marcus was thinking about how close they had come to losing everything. That evening, while Emma was having her dinner, Marcus walked down to the hospital parking garage and called Agent Torres. She had become something like a friend over the past few weeks, helping Marcus understand his role in the investigation and prepare for the upcoming trial. "How are you feeling about testifying next month?" Agent Torres asked. "Nervous," Marcus admitted, "but ready to tell the truth about what David did and how the FBI helped me fix my mistakes. The prosecutors are confident we'll get significant sentences for all the defendants. Agent Torres said. Your testimony will be crucial in making sure David and his associates don't get the chance to hurt anyone else. Marcus had been working with the FBI prosecutors to prepare his testimony. He would explain how David had approached him, how the espionage ring worked, and how his cooperation had helped prevent the kidnapping. It wouldn't be easy to admit his mistakes in front of a courtroom full of people. But it was the right thing to do. Agent Torres, can I ask you something? Marcus said. Of course. When you approached me at the hospital that day, how did you know I would agree to help you? Agent Torres was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I wasn't sure you would. But I had read your military record and talked to your former commanding officers. They all said the same thing, that you were a good man who would do the right thing when it mattered most. Even when I had already done the wrong thing? Especially then, Agent Torres said. Good people who make mistakes are often the most motivated to fix them. When Marcus got back to Emma's room, he found an unexpected visitor waiting. Elon was sitting in the chair next to Emma's bed, looking at her rocket drawings and asking her detailed questions about her Mars colony plans. Mr. Elon, Emma said when she saw Marcus. I was just telling him about how we're going to grow food on Mars using special greenhouses. That's a very important part of space colonization, Elon said seriously. We'll need people who understand how to grow food in difficult conditions. Marcus shook Elon's hand and thanked him again for coming. Over the past few weeks, their relationship had changed from boss and employee to something more like partnership. Marcus's experience with the espionage case had given him unique insights into security threats, and Elon valued his perspective. Marcus, I have something I want to discuss with you, Elon said after Emma went back to her drawing. I'd like to offer you a new position. A new position? Head of aviation security for all my companies, Elon said. Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, the Boring Company. Your job would be to make sure no one else can ever threaten our operations the way David's group did. Marcus was stunned. You want me to be in charge of security? After everything I did? Because of everything you did, Elon corrected. You understand how these threats work from the inside. You know what to look for and how to prevent it. There's no one more qualified for this job than you. Sarah looked up from her knitting. What would that mean for our family? It means Marcus would travel less but earn more, Elon explained. It means job security for as long as he wants it. And it means helping protect the work that could change humanity's future. Emma stopped drawing and looked up at the adults. Daddy, does this mean you get to help keep Mr. Elon safe? Yes, sweetheart. If I take the job, that's exactly what it means. Emma clapped her hands together. That's perfect. Heroes are supposed to protect people. And you're my hero. Marcus knelt down next to Emma's bed and looked into her eyes. For months, he had been afraid that she would stop thinking he was a hero when she learned the truth about what he had done. But maybe the truth was more complicated than that. Emma, do you know what makes someone a real hero? Marcus asked. Emma thought for a moment, her face serious. Someone who helps people? That's part of it, Marcus said. But the most important part is that heroes keep trying to do the right thing, even when they make mistakes. Emma nodded like she understood perfectly. Like when I mess up my homework, but then I fix it and do better next time. Exactly like that, Marcus said, hugging her tight. That night, after Elon left and Emma fell asleep, Marcus and Sarah sat in the hospital room talking about their future. Emma's treatment was almost finished. Marcus had a new job that would help protect important work. Their family was safe and together. I still can't believe how everything worked out, Sarah said quietly. 6 months ago, I thought we might lose our house and our daughter. We almost did, Marcus said. I made some terrible choices that could have cost us everything. But you fixed them, Sarah said, taking his hand. When you had the chance to make things right, you took it. That's what matters. Marcus looked at Emma sleeping peacefully in her hospital bed, holding her rocket model. Her dreams were full of possibilities now. Mars colonies and space exploration in a future where anything seemed possible. Tomorrow, they would start the process of going home. Emma would finish her treatment as an outpatient. Marcus would begin his new job protecting the technologies that might someday take humanity to the stars. Their family would rebuild on a foundation of honesty and hope. For the first time in months, Marcus fell asleep without any secrets weighing on his conscience. He was no longer a spy carrying stolen information. He was a father whose daughter was going to live, and a protector of the future Emma would inherit. 8 months after the arrests, Marcus stood outside the federal courthouse in Austin, Texas, wearing his best suit and holding the speech he had prepared for his testimony. Today was the day he would tell a courtroom full of people about the biggest mistake of his life and how he had worked to fix it. The courthouse looked like a fortress made of gray stone and glass. News trucks lined the street outside, their satellite dishes pointing toward the sky like metal flowers. Reporters with cameras and microphones waited near the entrance, hoping to interview witnesses in what newspapers were calling the biggest espionage case in decades. Emma was back in school now, healthy and strong, her hair grown back to its normal length. She had wanted to come to court to support her daddy, but Marcus and Sarah had decided she was too young to understand what would happen inside the courtroom. "You're going to tell everyone how you helped catch the bad guys, right?" Emma had asked that morning over breakfast. "That's right, sweetheart," Marcus had said. "I'm going to tell the truth about everything." "Good," Emma had said with 8-year-old certainty. Heroes always tell the truth. Now Marcus walked up the courthouse steps, trying to remember that he was here as a hero, not as a criminal. Agent Torres had reminded him many times that his testimony would help put dangerous people in prison and protect other families from going through what the Chens had experienced. Inside the courthouse, the hallways buzzed with activity. Lawyers in expensive suits carried briefcases and talked in serious whispers. FBI agents compared notes and reviewed evidence. Family members of the victims, companies that had lost technology secrets, waited to hear justice delivered. Marcus found the courtroom where United States v. David Kim and Associates would be held. It was larger than he had expected, with wooden benches like a church and a high ceiling that made voices echo. The judge's bench sat at the front like a throne, and the jury box was filled with 12 regular people who would decide David's fate. Agent Torres met Marcus in the hallway outside the courtroom. "Are you ready?" she asked. "As ready as I can be," Marcus said. "Is Emma's name gonna come up during my testimony?" "Only to explain why you made the choices you did," Agent Torres assured him. "The prosecutors understand that you were trying to save your daughter's life." Marcus nodded and tried to calm his nerves. In a few minutes, he would sit in the witness chair and face David Kim for the first time since his arrest. He would have to look at the man who had exploited his desperation and almost caused an international disaster. The courtroom doors opened and people began filing in. Marcus saw newspaper reporters with notebooks, FBI agents who had worked on the case, and employees from Tesla and SpaceX who wanted to see justice done for the theft of their hard work. Then Marcus saw David. He looked smaller in his orange prison jumpsuit than he had in the coffee shop where they first met. His hair was shorter and his face was pale from months in jail. But his eyes were still cold and calculating, like a snake waiting to strike. David's lawyers sat beside him at the defense table, whispering in his ear and shuffling through papers. They were expensive lawyers who would try to convince the jury that David was just a businessman who had made some poor choices. Marcus knew better. David was a criminal who had threatened to destroy Emma's treatment and Marcus's career. He was a spy who had stolen American secrets and sold them to foreign enemies. He was a kidnapper who had planned to hold Elon Musk prisoner in the desert. "The prosecution calls Captain Marcus Chen to the witness stand," announced Assistant U.S. Attorney Michael Rodriguez. Marcus walked to the front of the courtroom, his footsteps echoing in the quiet space. The witness chair felt uncomfortable and exposed, like sitting in the middle of a spotlight. The court clerk asked him to raise his right hand and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. "I do," Marcus said, his voice stronger than he felt. Attorney Rodriguez was a kind-looking man with gray hair and gentle eyes. He had spent hours with Marcus preparing for this moment, helping him understand what questions would be asked and how to answer them clearly. "Captain Chen, please tell the jury about your background," Rodriguez began. Marcus explained his military service in the Navy, his work as a private pilot, and his job flying for Elon Musk. He talked about Emma's cancer diagnosis and the crushing medical bills that had threatened to destroy his family's future. "What happened when you met David Kim?" Rodriguez asked. Marcus told the jury about the coffee shop meeting, David's knowledge of Emma's condition, and the impossible choice he had been forced to make. Several jury members leaned forward in their chairs, clearly understanding the pressure Marcus had felt. "Did you know what was in the packages you carried for Mr. Kim?" "No," Marcus said. "David told me they contained business documents, but I suspected they were something more serious. I was afraid to ask too many questions because Emma's treatment depended on my cooperation. Marcus explained how he had gradually realized he was stealing Tesla and SpaceX technology secrets. He described the guilt that ate away at him every time he flew with Elon, knowing he was betraying a man who cared about his family. "What change?" Rodriguez asked. "Agent Torres approached me at the hospital," Marcus said. "She gave me a choice: face prosecution for espionage or help the FBI catch David's entire organization. I chose to help." The prosecutor led Marcus through his cooperation with the FBI, the false packages he had unknowingly delivered, and the information he had provided that led to the arrests. Marcus could see some jury members nodding as they understood how his decision had helped protect American technology. Then Rodriguez asked the question Marcus had been dreading. "Captain Chen, did you know about the kidnapping plot against Elon Musk?" "No," Marcus said firmly. "I had no idea David was planning to kidnap Mr. Musk. When Agent Torres told me about it, I was horrified. I realized that my flight schedules and route information had made the kidnapping possible." Rodriguez showed the jury maps and photographs of the kidnapping preparations. Marcus explained how his detailed flight logs had provided everything David's team needed to plan the perfect ambush. "How did you feel when you learned about this plot?" Rodriguez asked. Marcus looked directly at the jury. "I felt like I had almost cost Mr. Musk his life and America its space program. I was grateful that the FBI had stopped it, but I was ashamed that my actions had made it possible in the first place." The cross-examination by David's defense attorney was harder. The lawyer tried to make Marcus look like a willing spy who had knowingly betrayed his country for money. But Marcus stuck to the truth. He had made a terrible mistake while trying to save his daughter, and he had worked with the FBI to fix that mistake as soon as he could. "Isn't it true, Captain Chen, that you knew exactly what you were doing when you stole those secrets?" the defense attorney asked. "I knew I was doing something wrong," Marcus admitted. "But I didn't know I was helping plan a kidnapping. I didn't know the information would be sold to foreign governments. I thought I was stealing business secrets, not endangering national security." When Marcus finished his testimony, he felt exhausted but relieved. He had told the truth about everything: the good choices and the bad ones, the fear and the courage, the mistakes and the redemption. Agent Torres testified next, explaining how Marcus's cooperation had led to the arrest of 17 people and the prevention of a kidnapping that could have changed the balance of power in the technology industry. Elon also testified, describing his shock at learning about both the espionage and the kidnapping plot. But he also spoke about forgiveness and second chances, explaining why he had offered Marcus a new job instead of firing him. "Captain Chen made a terrible choice when his daughter was dying," Elon told the jury. "But when he had the opportunity to make things right, he took it. That's the mark of a good person who made a bad decision, not a bad person who chose evil." After 3 days of testimony, the jury deliberated for only 4 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all charges. David Kim was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. His associates received sentences ranging from 8 to 15 years. Outside the courthouse, Marcus was surrounded by reporters asking about his experience. He gave a brief statement thanking the FBI for giving him a chance to make things right and expressing his gratitude that Emma was healthy and safe. "What would you say to other people facing impossible choices?" one reporter asked. Marcus thought about Emma's drawing that said, "Heroes always tell the truth," and gave the only answer that mattered. "I would say that it's never too late to do the right thing. Even when you've made terrible mistakes, you can still choose to fix them. That's what heroes really do. They find the courage to make things right." As Marcus walked away from the courthouse with Sarah beside him, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders that he hadn't even realized was still there. The trial was over. David was going to prison for a very long time. Emma was healthy and safe. Most importantly, Marcus had kept his promise to himself. He had found a way to be the man Emma thought he was. Not perfect, but honest. Not without mistakes, but willing to fix them. A hero. 1 year after the trial, Marcus stood on the tarmac at Austin Bergstrom International Airport, but he wasn't preparing for a flight. Instead, he was conducting a security briefing for Captain Lisa Park, a former Air Force officer who would be joining Elon's aviation team. Marcus was now director of aviation security for Musk Enterprises, and his job was to make sure no one could ever threaten Elon's safety the way David's group had tried to do. "The most important thing to remember," Marcus told Captain Park, is that security isn't just about checking equipment and following procedures. It's about understanding that desperate people can make dangerous choices, and we need to watch for signs of trouble before it's too late. Captain Park nodded seriously. She had read about Marcus's story in the FBI case files, and she understood why his experience made him uniquely qualified for this job. Every flight crew member, every mechanic, every person who has access to Mr. Musk's travel information gets a thorough background check. Marcus continued, "We also have a confidential help program for employees who might be facing financial or family problems. If someone needs help, we want them to ask for it instead of looking for dangerous solutions." As they walked around the Gulfstream G650ER that Marcus had once flown as Elon's pilot, Marcus pointed out the new security features he had designed. Encrypted communication systems that couldn't be jammed, GPS tracking that worked even in remote areas, emergency procedures that would make kidnapping attempts almost impossible. "Daddy, Daddy," came a voice from across the tarmac. Marcus turned to see Emma running toward him, wearing a small flight suit that Sarah had made for her. Today was Take Your Daughter to Work Day, and Emma had been excited for weeks about visiting the airport where her daddy worked. At 9 years old, Emma was healthy and strong, her hair now long and shiny. Her latest medical checkup had shown no signs of cancer, and her doctors were confident that she would remain cancer-free for the rest of her life. The experimental treatment had worked better than anyone had dared to hope. "Captain Park, I'd like you to meet my daughter Emma," Marcus said as she reached them. "Emma, this is Captain Park. She's going to be flying for Mr. Elon's company. Are you going to fly to Mars?" Emma asked with the directness that only children possess. Captain Park laughed. "Not yet, but maybe someday. Mr. Musk's rockets will get there first, and then we'll need pilots to fly people back and forth." "I'm going to be a pilot too," Emma announced, "or maybe an astronaut, or maybe a doctor who takes care of astronauts. I haven't decided yet." Marcus smiled as he watched his daughter talk with Captain Park about flying and space travel. Emma's dreams had grown bigger over the past year, expanding from simple survival to unlimited possibilities. She truly believed she could be anything she wanted to be. The sound of a Tesla Model S approaching made them all look up. Elon stepped out of the car, talking on his phone as usual, but he smiled and waved when he saw Emma. "Emma," Elon called out as he finished his call. "I was hoping you'd be here today. I have something special to show you." He walked over carrying a tablet computer and knelt down to Emma's eye level. "Remember how we told about the Mars colony needing greenhouses to grow food?" "Of course," Emma said excitedly. "People can't eat rocket fuel. Well, our engineering team has been working on designs for Mars greenhouses, and I thought you might like to see them." Elon showed Emma detailed drawings of glass structures that could protect plants from the harsh Mars environment. Emma studied the drawings with the seriousness of a professional scientist. "These are good, but you need to make sure the walls are thick enough to keep out the radiation. Mars doesn't have a magnetic field like Earth does." Elon and Marcus exchanged impressed looks. Emma had been reading everything she could find about Mars colonization, and her knowledge surprised even the adults who knew her best. "You're absolutely right," Elon said. "Would you like to help our engineers think about other problems the greenhouses might face?" "Can I really help?" Emma asked, her eyes wide with excitement. "I think you'd make an excellent consultant," Elon said seriously. "We need people who can think about problems in new ways." As Emma and Elon discussed Mars greenhouse design, Marcus thought about how much their lives had changed since that terrible norming, when he first carried David's package. Back then, Emma had been fighting for her life and Marcus had been fighting with his conscience. Now Emma was healthy and dreaming of Mars, while Marcus was using his experience to protect other families from the kind of desperation that had almost destroyed his own. "Marcus," Elon said after Emma had finished explaining her ideas about Martian agriculture, "I have some news I wanted to share with you." "Good news or bad news?" Marcus asked. "Good news. NASA has asked SpaceX to consult on security protocols for the Artemis program. They want to make sure the moon missions are protected from the kind of espionage and sabotage threats we dealt with. I recommended you to lead that project." Marcus felt a surge of pride and responsibility. The Artemis program would take humans back to the moon for the first time since the 1970s. Protecting those missions from espionage would be crucial for America's space program and national security. "You want me to help protect the moon missions?" I want you to help protect humanity's return to space, Elon said. Your experience with David's organization gives you insights that no one else has. You understand how these threats work and how to prevent them. Emma looked up from the greenhouse drawings. Daddy, does this mean you get to help people go to the moon? If I take the job, that's exactly what it means, Marcus said. Emma clapped her hands together. That's perfect. First you help protect Mr. Elon. Then you help protect the moon people. And maybe someday you can help protect the Mars people too. That evening after Elon left, and Captain Park had finished her orientation, Marcus and Emma walked through the Tesla factory together. Emma wore a visitor badge that said Future Astronaut, and asked questions about everything she saw. Daddy, do you ever miss flying Mr. Elon around? Emma asked, as they watched robots installing batteries in Model Y cars. Marcus thought about it carefully. Sometimes I miss the flying, but I like my new job better. Why? Because now I get to help protect lots of people, not just carry one person from place to place. And because I get to use what I learned from my mistakes to help other people avoid making the same ones. Emma nodded like she understood perfectly. Like when I help other kids with math homework because I remember being confused about fractions? Exactly like that, Marcus said, amazed once again by his daughter's wisdom. They stopped in front of a display showing Tesla's mission statement, to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Next to it was a picture of SpaceX's Starship, with the words making life multiplanetary. Emma, do you understand what these companies are trying to do? Marcus asked. Emma studied the displays with her serious 9-year-old expression. They're trying to make the world better for kids like me, right? Clean air and backup planets in case something bad happens to Earth? That's right, and my job is to help make sure no one can stop them from doing that important work. Emma took Marcus's hand and looked up at him with eyes that sparkled with intelligence and hope. Daddy, I'm proud of you for being a hero. What makes you think I'm a hero? Marcus asked. Because you made a big mistake when you were scared about me being sick, but then you fixed it and helped catch the bad guys. And now you help protect the people who are trying to save the world.
Emma said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world.
Marcus knelt down and hugged his daughter tight. She was right. He realized, not because he had never made mistakes, but because he had found the courage to fix them. Not because he was perfect, but because he was willing to keep trying to do better. I love you, Emma, he whispered. I love you too, Daddy. You're the best hero in the whole world. As they walked back toward the parking lot, Emma chattering about Mars greenhouses and moon bases, Marcus thought about the future stretching out ahead of them. Emma would grow up healthy and strong, with dreams as big as the solar system. She might become a pilot like her father, or an astronaut, or a doctor, or anything else she could imagine. Marcus would continue protecting the people and technologies that could give humanity a future among the stars. He would use his experience with betrayal and redemption to help other people make better choices when they faced impossible situations. And somewhere out there in the darkness beyond Earth, Mars waited for the first human visitors. Explorers who would travel there on rockets protected by security systems designed by a former spy who had learned that heroes aren't people who never fall down, but people who always get back up. That night, after Emma had gone to bed, Marcus sat in his backyard looking up at the stars. Mars was just a red dot among thousands of other lights, but someday Emma might actually see it up close. She might walk on its surface, or help build the greenhouses that would feed the first Martian colonists. Marcus had once carried secrets that could have destroyed humanity's space program. Now he carried the responsibility of protecting it. He had once betrayed the people trying to build the future. Now he helped guard that future against anyone who might want to steal or destroy it. The little girl sleeping in the bedroom upstairs would inherit a world of infinite possibilities, because her father had learned that the biggest mistake you can make is giving up on yourself. Heroes, Marcus now understood, weren't born perfect. They became heroes by refusing to let their worst moments define their entire lives. As a shooting star streaked across the Texas sky, Marcus made a wish. Not for himself, but for Emma and all the children who would grow up in the world he was helping to protect. He wished them clean air to breathe, safe rockets to carry them to other worlds, and the knowledge that no matter what mistakes they might make along the way, it would never be too late to choose to do the right thing. Marcus Chen, Former spy and current protector of humanity's future, smiled and went inside to sleep peacefully under the same stars that would someday shine down on human cities built on Mars. That was the end of Marcus Chen's incredible journey from desperate father to unlikely hero. His experience reminds us that even good people can make terrible choices when faced with impossible situations. But it's never too late to do the right thing. We'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment and let us know what country or city you're in. It's amazing to connect with people from all around the world. If you found Marcus's tale as gripping as we did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe our channel for more fascinating real-life accounts of courage, redemption, and the extraordinary choices ordinary people make. Most importantly, share this video with your friends and family. These powerful narratives help spread awareness about the complex moral decisions we all face and remind us that kindness and second chances can change everything. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next video.